Yavapai Broadcasting and the City of Cottonwood proudly present Inside Cottonwood, an inside look at the decisions and issues of the City of Cottonwood. Brought to you by Arizona Smile Designers.
Welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Mayor Diane Jones, your host, and we're going to have a very great show today. I'm excited about our guests. We have Dr. Donna Michaels with us today on our left, and in the middle here we have Elva Coor. But first of all, we're going to take a short break because we have a video that we would like to share with you about the O'Connor House.
For a visitor to O'Connor House who hasn't been here before, they'll probably want to know that this is where my husband and I and our children lived for 25 years, that we built it out of adobes made in the Salt River bed. We tried to incorporate some of what Arizona stands for, with big windows so we can look out and try to see the past where we've been and the future where we'd like to go. I was appointed to fill a vacancy in my legislative district. One of the things that I would do on occasion is to invite all of the senators, Republican and Democrat, to come out to the O'Connor House, and I'd cook some chalupas or some other kind of food that was easy to fix for a group. And I'd get a supply of cold beer, and we would sit around outside, and we'd have a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other informally, in a casual setting.
I will send to the Senate the nomination of Judge Sandra Day O'Connor of Arizona Court of Appeals for confirmation as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. I've long believed that the time has come for the highest court in our land to include not only distinguished men, but distinguished women as well.
I served 25 years on the United States Supreme Court. Every day when the members met, before going on the bench or before having a conference, each justice shakes the hand of every other justice. I think that's a wonderful practice. There's something about shaking hands with someone else that creates that tiny bond of humanity that makes you more apt to appreciate that there might be different views, but you have to work together some way to solve the problems. I think the O'Connor House can be useful in our state and in our community with issues that appear to be very challenging issues. That's the goal that we have for the O'Connor House, really, to try to help enable any group in our state that's facing contentious issues, help them understand the pros and the cons on each side of the issue, and help them hear valid arguments both ways and better appreciate what a good solution might be. And I hope we can help create that kind of an atmosphere and produce the kind of information that will help people who have to make those decisions make good decisions.
Meet the team at Arizona Smile Designers, offering complete, comprehensive, restorative, and aesthetic dentistry. Dr. Vergara and Dr. Lord specialize in dental health, implants, and cosmetic dental procedures. Expert staff and state-of-the-art equipment bring forth the most from your smile. Dr. Ripplinger conveniently comes to Arizona Smile Designers for oral surgery and complicated procedures. Visit Arizona Smile Designers at 350 South Willard in Cottonwood. Insurance and new patients are welcome. Call 634-8610.
Thousands of fires across the United States are caused by careless people. Hi, I'm Fire Marshal Rick Contreras with the Cottonwood Fire Department. The major threat of human-caused fires are from burning debris that get out of control or improperly extinguished or unattended campfires. Remember that fireworks have no place on our wild lands. Become part of the solution. Learn more about proper fire safety by contacting the local fire department.
Welcome back. So we're here today to talk about voter engagement, the O'Connor House, and civility and how we converse with each other, which I think is so important. I know that on the Cottonwood City Council, we have signed a civility agreement.
Right.
And as a mayor, that's very important to me, that we talk to each other civilly and that we converse with the public back and forth, them to us also, in a civil manner. So I want to just find out a little bit about the two of you. Please share with me a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with the O'Connor House. Elva, you want to start?
I'd be happy to. And thank you for having us here today.
You're welcome.
A delight. This is kind of a homecoming for me. I'm a fifth-generation Arizonan, and our family started here in the Verde Valley. In fact, their first place was right down kind of by Bridgeport. They came in the 1870s, and thanks to kind of what the government was doing at that time, encouraging people to come west. They were able to bring cattle down from Oregon and to graze cattle all over the Verde Valley and up onto the mountains around at different times. And when one area wouldn't work, they were able to move to another place. They came here because my great-great-grandfather had arthritis and couldn't handle the Oregon weather. And they learned about the fort here in Camp Verde. I think it was called Fort Lincoln at that time. And they decided they could come and farm and have a store and raise cattle and provide services.
Quite the entrepreneurs, as
yes,
I understand.
They were. They always were. They came to Virginia in the 1600s and then began slowly moving west in the 1800s, around the time of the Civil War. And after the war, decided to come over the Oregon Trail. So they were true pioneers.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting to come back after all of this time. And I'll share a little bit about that in a moment. But I was blessed to raise up on a farm and a ranch where we were all very self-sufficient. But we were self-sufficient only because there were people around that with whom we could work together. There were a lot of challenges, and everybody worked together. And they were able to prosper, but only because of that. And that kind of it'll lead to why I got where I am right now in this position. From there, I was blessed to have an opportunity to go to work for Barry Goldwater during my college years and after, and I worked in Washington and in Arizona for him.
What an exciting career.
It was exciting.
And just to go back a little bit, the name of your family was?
Oh, Wingfield.
Wingfield. Yes, Elva is a Wingfield from Camp Verde.
Yes.
Formerly from Bridgeport, right here close to Cottonwood.
That's right.
So a Verde Valley girl through and through.
I'm a Verde Valley. We used to swim in Oak Creek, and the only swimming pool, and the nice cold water that they had up there.
Yes. But then you moved on and you worked for Barry Goldwater.
I worked for Barry Goldwater, and to relate to what you were talking to about civility, it was a time when Barry Goldwater and Carl Hayden, a Republican and a Democrat, worked closely together. There was hardly a day they didn't talk. And they weren't Republicans and Democrats. Once they got elected, they were serving Arizona. They had very different views, but what they cared about were the people. And they worked together. Mo Udall, Stuart Udall, John Rhodes. That era was a period of civility.
Absolutely.
Where party did not matter.
Exactly, and they had so many tasks like getting water to Arizona with the Central Arizona Project, and but to think that they worked well together. And Carl Hayden was in the legislature for what, 60-some years?
Yes, he was the longest-serving senator ever. And so even when he was very old, sharp as a tack, and Barry would call him, and you know, he said, "I want his opinion." You know, they worked together. I also was in business, and I'm telling you this because I've had the good fortune to experience so many different parts of our life. I was in business for 20 years. It had about, at one time, 7 offices, and in Phoenix, about 85 employees. And so I learned that while government provides the framework for us to survive and to prosper, business is the engine, and employees are gold. And from there, after I sold my business, my husband and I married, and I was blessed to work for the next 12 years in the university setting. And it led
so all of that history of being a Wingfield, growing up in a pioneer family, and then working for Barry Goldwater, and along with Carl Hayden, Mr. Rhodes, and all of the other gentlemen, the Udalls. Being a kid in the 60s in Sierra Vista, I can remember all those names.
Yes.
So that kind of brought you then to this point, where you are now working with the O'Connor House on a number of projects.
That is right. And part of that also was stimulated from my work at the university, where once again it was about bringing people together to work together to create a good educational environment for students and for the greater community, another engine that is important to our society. And Sandra and I met, or Justice O'Connor and I met in 1958 in a campaign. We were young Republicans, and I was a few years younger than her, but not many. But we knocked on doors. We really cared about our community, and we worked nonstop to try to create an engaged in civil society in a different kind of a way, and registering people to vote and getting them out, and making sure our officials represented our views. In those days, if you didn't like them, you voted and you got rid of them. So that's kind of my story. And when some friends decided to move the Justice's home that was going to be demolished, they twisted my arm very hard. I'd never moved a house, and I'd never been a fundraiser. And I did not move the house, but got it moved. But I became a fundraiser. And but we didn't want the house to just be a house. The Justice said, let's use it the way I used it. She said, my husband John and I used it to bring people together to identify problems facing Arizona and to find solutions.
And she talked about on the video that I thought was interesting, she would make some chalupas or something that was easy to cook and have all these people into her home.
Absolutely.
And that's what we did in those days. We don't see as much of that now, and I think that's part of our loss of connections with each other.
That's exactly right. Today, our officials in Washington are there maybe 2.5 days a week, and they fly back to their home states, so they don't get to know each other. In the old days, they would go to the Senate floor, talk to each other, and resolve issues. They didn't fight. They would have thoughtful debates, but then they would go across to the Carol Arms and have a martini or something.
Right.
But it was a very different environment, and that's very much what brought me to this project. And the Justice feels very strongly about trying to do something to get people working together again. It's not about you and me. It's about all of these different entities working together. And we are government. I think of all those different things that I've had the good fortune to do, what I realized, it's not about big government or small government, it's about good governance. And there's only one way you have that, and that's if everyone votes, if they're informed, and if they hold their elected officials accountable.
Absolutely. So Donna, do you want to share a little bit how you came into the project?
It's a great story because, you know, as a social policy person, that's my background. I've always been interested in community capacity building, and the mutual friend told me about the O'Connor House and the voter initiative. And long ago, in the early 90s, I was involved with bringing kids voting to the state of Florida, and that was an extraordinary experience for me, very powerful. But it was clear to me that 20 years later, the act of registering and the act of voting has really deteriorated in our country. And key to getting people excited about wanting to vote and actually being informed about the issues and then exercising that right is having conversation. And I'm sure you might agree with me that we all feel today, whether we're in a rural or urban community, that there's a great disconnect, a great malaise. We're frankly quite sad, and I'd be still depressed if it weren't for this this organization coming along and saying, you know, we can reweave this tapestry of civility back into our society. And the genius to me of the Justice's vision has been to exercise this opportunity around celebrating our centennial and getting people excited about registering to vote by having conversation. Not what we're seeing on the national or local or state level, which is debate and conflict, but conversation, engagement in a way that makes us excited about being a member in our community and compels us by being excited to want to register to vote. And not only just that act alone, which isn't good enough anymore because so many people stay home, but become informed enough, not just from the 30-second sound bites that we all are inundated with during the evening news, but with the facts.
To research.
With the facts. And to feel so safe in doing that in our community gatherings. Locally, we have forums and salons and meetings on hot topics where we model how we can talk in a compassionate, respectful way again to one another. If the Haydens could do it, and our wonderful Arizona legacy families did it because they knew they had to, there's no reason in 2012 we can't do it too. So for me, as a social scientist, this has been a very exciting opportunity to come and be a part of. And I'm very proud to say that what I see going on locally is exactly what I suspected, which is leadership in rural Arizona is so concerned that they want to be engaged, they want to have meaningful conversation, and we needed a reason around which to do it. And the Justice, of course, our own, and the first woman Supreme Court Justice, I think, has set the example and model and ignited a kind of interest that we haven't had in a great long while. So I'm very proud to be a part of it.
And I can't think of anybody that could accomplish this more so than she.
No.
Because I think that she has gained the respect of a nation, and she, because of her, how she is, I mean, people just really respect her.
That's right.
And for her to, you know, come back to Arizona and to get involved again in Arizona politics and civility and discussions among citizens, I mean, I think it will succeed just because of you all, and then she promoting this. I mean, I really believe that we're going to see some benefits, some results from these efforts.
We already are. Over 1,000 organizations have become formal partners. We're already seeing that folks who would maybe normally say during the dinner hour, it won't matter if I vote, I give up, I don't care anymore, have to look at this extraordinary woman and where she is in her life and how easy it would be for her to sit back and not be engaged
and say
instead,
it doesn't matter.
And here she is. So if she could do it, for goodness gracious sakes, so could we.
And I think it's important to understand the figures that we're talking about too.
78% don't vote in primaries, I was reading.
78% on average do not vote in the primaries. one of the shocking statistics is that only 10% of the people in Arizona believe their elected officials represent their views. When 78% don't vote, and that again is average, how can you be sure you're going to have thoughtful representation, and how can they know what you believe? How can they govern well if they don't know, if they don't hear you speak out?
And it's really the voters that can change this country. If you can get that
Exactly.
confidence in people,
That's right.
we can turn our country around to where our representation
That's right.
does represent the people and interacts with the people and cares about what the people think.
Exactly.
You know, even as a mayor, sometimes I'm like, please, you know, I'm writing letters and trying to, you know, work for citizens in our area, our local area, and even I, as a mayor, sometimes think they're not listening.
Right.
Well,
right.
Mayor Jones, that's the challenge today, because people have felt and are disenfranchised, whether they're the Latino population, whether they're the working poor who it's not easy to go and register, whether it's the rest of us saying it doesn't matter what we do, nothing
Right.
seems to work. And so having an opportunity this year, and we only have our centennial celebration once,
Right.
Exactly.
to gain some interest and energy around the notion of engaging again in a way that models an entirely different approach to good governance, to stewardship, to community involvement.
Absolutely.
And I think we can teach Washington a thing or two, frankly, by doing that. And I think we already are beginning to do that by modeling that. We can not be from the same party. We cannot
right.
agree on what the issue answers are. In fact, we can even come together and discuss it, knowing that that discussion isn't going to end in a resolution, but what it will end in is an increased respect for one another and an encouragement to continue to remain engaged. And that's what this country is really challenged with, whether it's in a rural community like Cottonwood in the Verde Valley or an urban setting like Phoenix and the rest of the state. How do we re-engage in ways that are meaningful to move this state forward in the 21st century?
Absolutely, and I think
Beautifully
just
said.
that
Beautifully
discussion, even though you don't agree on issues, you know, the best policy is created by the most diverse opinions and ideas and backgrounds.
Absolutely.
And so you come and you have people here and you have people here, but if you can stay at the table together and you can remain civil, you can both move to where you can agree.
Absolutely.
And
that's
come to
the key.
consensus.
Absolutely.
That's why up here, and I know that's true in the other organizations across the state that are working together, we have a diverse constituency represented in the Verde Valley Voter Engagement Project. We're proud to have you on our steering committee, Mayor.
Thank you.
We have the interfaith community, we have the Latino community, we have the business community, we have the youth community. We're very proud of the diversity, and it takes us all, and I think that's what our forefathers in this state recognized. All of us together
It takes
have
a
to do this.
community.
It takes
With
a
that,
village.
I'm a little bit late for our break. As usual, I get so excited talking to my guests. So let's just take a moment for a break, and we'll be right back with Inside Cottonwood.
Meet the team at Arizona Smile Designers, offering complete, comprehensive, restorative, and aesthetic dentistry. Dr. Vergara and Dr. Lord specialize in dental health, implants, and cosmetic dental procedures. Expert staff and state-of-the-art equipment bring forth the most from your smile. Dr. Ripplinger conveniently comes to Arizona Smile Designers for oral surgery and complicated procedures. Visit Arizona Smile Designers at 350 South Willard in Cottonwood. Insurance and new patients are welcome. Call 634-8610.
Thousands of fires across the United States are caused by careless people. Hi, I'm Fire Marshal Rick Contreras with the Cottonwood Fire Department. The major threat of human-caused fires are from burning debris that get out of control or improperly extinguished or unattended campfires. Remember that fireworks have no place on our wild lands. Become part of the solution. Learn more about proper fire safety by contacting your local fire department.
I'm Mayor Diane Jones with Inside Cottonwood. Our guests today are Dr. Donna Michaels and Elva Coor from the O'Connor House. And we're talking about voter engagement. And we have a special project going on right here in Yavapai County, but we also have a project going on statewide. So let's talk about voter engagement and what we're doing in these projects. Which one of you would like to
Well, I'll address that for a little bit. We're trying to do something a little that's not been done before. What we decided to do is that use this moment, this kind of moment of dissent, of disconnect, and the centennial year to really make a big impact by creating a statewide conversation. O'Connor House convenes organizations, causes collaborations, and tries to catalyze the energy and do something with it. We're where civil talk leads to civic action. So what we've done here, as Donna said, is we've got, it's hard to say how many organizations, because if you look, we're dealing with a lot of umbrella organizations, and just one of them is the Arizona Association of Community Managers. They have 1.4 million homes under their umbrella. That's 4,400 organizations under them.
That's quite a few people.
We've got nonprofits that have over 650 organizations that provide trainings and all kinds of things. What we've got churches that have a broad reach. We're working with schools all over the state to try to get civic education back in school and to promote the Justice's iCivics program. But what all of that does is it gets everybody focusing this year on voting. These are organizations that typically do not work together, as you stated. We're doing it on a statewide level, but then what we're doing differently as well is O'Connor House is going down to Sedona, the Verde Valley, and finding people like Donna that are willing to lead a project. They build teams. Those teams become their own team. They're partners of O'Connor House and have access to the tools that all of our other partners provide: trainings, information, facts, speakers, facilitators, etc., to really do a good job of not just us talking together, but to reach that some 50% of the people that do not vote. 31% in 2008 weren't registered. 42% of those registered didn't vote. And if you do the numbers on it, it's less than 50% in a presidential election. So what our hope is that with all of these groups, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, future voters, young voters, the general population, all talking about it, and then coming together to form these teams to work through this campaign, and then to move on to I shouldn't say greater, nothing is greater than the vote, but other activities that can help their communities. So this is a long-term civic engagement project.
So it's not going to really end at the centennial. It's just really beginning, and we're really pushing.
That's right.
I think May is a big push, isn't it, to get out to get people registered to vote.
Up here it is.
Okay, and in Yavapai County.
Yes.
And the end of July is when you have to be registered for the August primary. So there's, but it's good. You have some elections in May, I believe, or June.
I think
do you have something?
June, isn't it? June. Or is it?
What do you?
We need to be sure that we're finished registering actually by the end of June.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
Because overall it's July, I think. Yeah. So, but it's. This is a catalytic moment that we can
Absolutely.
really...
If someone wants to register to vote, as I understand it, they can go to the Secretary of State's website and register.
That's right.
Or
another good thing they can do, and I think a real value of our local communities coming together and becoming formal partners with one another as well as the O'Connor House, is to provide website information on our Verde Valley Voter Engagement .org website, where we link with all of our partners, the town of Camp Verde, Cottonwood, of course, Sedona, Clarkdale. I think the only one remaining, and we're working toward that, is Jerome. So all of the Verde Valley communities are officially partners. Big Park Regional Council.
Yavapai County Supervisor Chip Davis has agreed to support.
An exciting piece of that is the director of our public health has offered to provide voter registration, training his staff through our volunteers to register voters, eligible voters when they come in for services at the clinic, reaching maybe as many as 50,000 people in a year. So it's about creating these initial partnerships where we can put our heads together, figure out how we can increase the numbers to move us from the lowest 10% in voter registration, and in the doing of that, find the points where we have common ground and can have the discussion and continuing discussion and work together, much like you do, Mayor Jones, with the water issues. We've got to come back to the table as a team, not as partisans. And I think that this centennial celebration year that allows us to increase registration of voters is going to be the catalyst that creates that opportunity for us.
That's very exciting.
Absolutely.
And we have just about, oh gosh, a minute or 2 minutes here. And I do want to stress again that this is all nonpartisan.
Yes.
This is an effort that's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not any party, it is just citizens working to get people registered to vote and informed, because uninformed voting is not a good thing either.
No.
You need to have the education on the issues along with registering people to vote.
Absolutely.
And that's the exciting part of what the website opportunity, which is new to this initiative for us up here, can do. We list dates and times of meetings, public meetings, whether it's a town council meeting or whether it's a gathering to discuss a relevant topic for a community. And that's what gets people excited about thinking that maybe this is the time to register and then actually becoming informed on the issues and voting.
And the more each community can do to really push that and get your churches and your schools and children, working through children to get to their parents, the better. I would like to make one point.
Okay, so in closing, I guess it's about time. So go ahead and share with us your thoughts.
Justice O'Connor, at every meeting, she says, what's going to be your measurement? And we decided that the first measurement would be the primary this year, because that is one of the most fragile parts of our democracy, is not voting in the primary. And so we would like your participation to make sure that you have a record vote in this county in the primary elections.
All right, and it's about time to close. I want to thank my guests. We could have talked for a couple of hours today, I think. But in closing, I just want to say, I want to thank Dr. Michaels and Ms. Kaur, because we live in the greatest country in the world, and voting is an important part of keeping it the greatest country in the world. This is Inside Cottonwood, and we'll see you next month.